What's up, friends? So today I'm going to be talking through some of our housekeeping items, dates we got coming up, exciting, good stuff coming down the pipeline. We'll go over all that, and then we'll talk about programming for kettlebell and CrossFit here for the next 6 weeks. So first date is Stacy's next nutrition boot camp. That's going to be, again, I think she always runs them for 6 weeks. So that will start on May 10th. So if people are interested, that's listed on our website. Obviously, you can text Stacy and get more information about it. But yeah, members get a discount for that, but you don't have to be a member to sign up for that. So be sure to check that out. Then we have Zor Athlete Camp. That's on May 17th and 18th. So a weekend. There's 2 sessions on each day. All the information is released for it. So I will link to that below. Be sure to check it out if you're someone who's interested. Again, we have a lot of people who are coming from Lumber Capital who are, again, recreational in their fitness, who are going to get a lot of benefit out of it. And that's, again, we understand the population that's coming, and we're going to gear everything towards the people that we have there. So if you're interested, yeah, feel free to message me if you got questions about it. Also on May 17th, we'll be closing the gym down at 10 a.m. for Zor Athlete Camp, just so you know. We'll send out a reminder text for people. Then, believe it or not, we have Memorial Day Murph that is coming up. Memorial Day this year is on May 26th. So again, Murph, if people aren't familiar with it, it's a hero workout, meaning that it's named after someone who died in service. And in this case, the workout is a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and another 1 mile run. So for this workout, we're going to allow people to partition, meaning break up the gymnastics as they see fit, right? So however you want to go about it, 1 mile run, accumulate 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and 1 more mile run. So if people aren't ready to handle that, we can obviously scale that back and do things like no different than we would for a normal class. However, that is an important thing for a lot of people, and they'd like to do it RX, or at least do as much of the volume of that workout as they can. So we have to make sure people are ready for that. So it's one of the things you'll see for the CrossFit programming is that we will have some Murph prep built into it. And that's also going to lend us really well towards the CrossFit Triathlon, which is going to be shortly after that. So what was it, like maybe 2.5 weeks after that or so? It's June 14th is the day that we're actually going to be testing the CrossFit Triathlon. So again, CrossFit Triathlon, if people aren't familiar with it, it's a workout that we just made up and is our one of our benchmark workouts here for the gym. It is 5K row, 10K air bike, so 6.2 miles, and then a 5K run. So we're going to be running heats of that starting at 8 a.m. on June 14th as a Saturday. So whenever we test that, it'll always be on a Saturday because it's going to go well over an hour for most people, so it's not going to fit into a traditional class. So we'll make sure we get that in on that day. One of the things that people expressed interest in was having the program for that CrossFit Triathlon. So there's a prep program for it, 6 weeks leading up to that, so people can be prepared and do that to the best of their ability. So if you're interested, it's free. I will link to it below so you can check out that program, and it's meant to be an add-on to class that you can do in addition to the class programming. So again, if you're doing the CrossFit Triathlon, I highly recommend that you check out the prep. We're getting there, folks. We have a youth sports, it's basically like youth sports training, like a camp style program that we're running throughout the summer. So it's going to start on June, make sure I get this right, June 16th. It's a Monday. It'll be a Monday and Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Basically, anybody who's in like the middle school through high school age is going to be appropriate for that. So no prior real experience needed. And again, obviously we have a number of people in different sports that are going to be doing that. However, and they don't have to be involved in sports. It's just sort of marketed that way, but it's going to be fundamental strength conditioning, working on hinge, squat, press, pull, bounding, plyometrics, conditioning, the basics to prepare them for what they need. So again, if you got somebody that's like a kid, obviously that's interested in that, be sure to send them over to the website. We have it listed on there so people can check it out. So again, if you got questions, message Stacy or I. So I think that's it for housekeeping items. Let's jump right into programming. So programming, we're going to be starting here on the week of May 12th, and it's running 6 weeks for both kettlebell and CrossFit. So again, as I said before, we're going to have some Murph prep built in. We're going to put that right up in the front of the week on Monday. So we're going to start off with actually squat strength, and it's going to be primarily back squatting. We'll have basically 2 higher weeks back to back, and then a more like back off deload type week on that 3rd week. So that's going to allow people to be consistent and continue to push loads, and then also have times where they're going to be able to systematically back off that to allow their body to recover and actually be able to express their strength again the following week. So squat strength. And we're actually going to test a back squat now and probably roughly 12 weeks from now. So a fairly long squat cycle compared to what we've been doing for the most part. So again, 2 high weeks and then 1 low week, or like a deload week. And then Murph prep, which essentially could be running. It could be a lot of the body movements that you'd see in like a Cindy or Murph type workout. Cindy would be push-ups, pull-ups, air squats. Obviously Murph, that's built into there as well. So those types of movements is what we'll just be building exposure and volume tolerance of as we get into it. Okay, so that's Monday. Tuesday is just gonna be like kind of what did we not see on Monday, and making sure that we're touching on that. So one of the things, it's like, okay, if you're gonna be running a lot, if you're doing a lot of these bodyweight movements, there's a lot of eccentric, so like lowering phases, that's can make you sore. So one of the things that will be helpful is if we get on the ergs on Tuesday and use that for more of our conditioning. So one of the things you'll see, we have intervals. It'll be like intervals into something that's more hinging based. So hinging, thinking about bending over at the waist. Unlike something like a squat where you're primarily moving around the knee, this is going to be much more hip centric. So think about it as like doing intervals of maybe, this is actually the first week's a great example, right? It's 4 rounds that you'll be doing, 400 for the ladies, 450 for the guys, meters of a row, just kind of at a moderate pace, and then into 8 deadlifts at a prescribed intensity. And then you'll get to rest about 1 to 1, so the resting about as long as you're working, and then you'll repeat it. So that's a good example of like what I mean by those types of intervals where it's hinging based. And then the workout is going to be based on what we see in the days before and after, essentially. Okay, Wednesday we'll often have stuff that is pressing based, so either Olympic lifting, or it could be simple as bench press, things like that. And then we'll often have a workout that's MGW, weightlifting, monostructural gymnastics. So 3 components: moving your body weight, moving external load, and then also doing something that is cyclical based, and mashing those together into a CrossFit workout. Just something that kind of snapshots and encapsulates a lot of different things. And then Thursday, again, our lower day here in the gym, meaning that it's something where you can modulate your intensity a little bit easier, where it's like a lot of CrossFit workouts, they're high effort, whether it feels like you do them at sub-maximal pace or as fast as you can, they're hard either way. That's the reality of it for a lot of people. Where on Thursday, we often get onto the ergs a lot more, do a lot more cyclical things, do things that are a little bit more bodybuilding based, where it's more so isolating a particular joint or muscle group. And that allows you to be able to get really quality movement in and not feel like you're beat up when you leave, which is, again, the goal on Thursday. We'll do a combination of a lot of those erg-based intervals as well as a lot of bodybuilding in this cycle, like I said. And then finally on Friday, we'll probably do something that's a little bit more either Olympic lifting based or barbell cycling, so moving a bar for multiple reps. And then again, depending what we have there, we'll probably involve a barbell again in our workout. Oftentimes if we do like something like squatting, we might not have the barbell in the conditioning piece, but in this instance, we will try to keep that barbell into the workout at some point. So there you have it. That's kind of the rough outline. Again, Saturdays will be either boot camp when Stacey's having that, which is almost every week, but not every single week. And then the open gym workout will be the name game from Zor Fitness. So again, we have a group that goes through that at 7 a.m. Anyone is welcome to join into that or do it on their own time. That's CrossFit program. Okay, really quickly for kettlebell, because kettlebell programming is slightly different in the fact that it's twice a week. So you're just gonna have a little bit less variety in terms of like day to day. There's not gonna be as much undulation of things that you do, right? You're not gonna just come in and do hinging and pulling on one day, right? You're not gonna isolate something like that, because you only, for a lot of these people, is they're coming in, they're getting 1 or 2 workouts in a week. So if that's the case, you have to capture a little bit more qualities each time you come in, and that's one of the big things with kettlebell that we're always going to be making sure that we do. So more full body workouts, and yes, it's called kettlebell, but we're involving as many different modalities and types of equipment that we can. But I'll always make sure that the kettlebell is sort of like the signature ingredient, if you will, right? If you're into cooking shows, it's like, that's the thing that needs to be the star of the dish, so to speak. It needs to be involved somewhere, but there's other things that you can incorporate and make kind of play off that are very complementary. And certainly something like the ergs or like running, because it's getting nice out, and we're probably gonna do a little bit more of that, are always gonna be involved in that. And then likely we'll also do things that are gonna be at least some sort of quality or strength-based work up front in those workouts. It's a little bit more of that boot camp feel where you're getting multiple pieces of conditioning. However, you can still do that in a way that allows people to still build strength and repeatability of the movement. So doing things like complexes where you might do, a set of squats into a set of lunges, into a squat, into a set of thrusters or something, right? And then doing that at a loading that's challenging so that it's actually going to increase somebody's strength level. So to keep it really broad and hopefully not too vague, that's sort of like the goal of what we're doing moving forward. So yeah, be sure to check out the CrossFit Triathlon Prep program. I'll put that below. And again, if there's any other programs that you guys are curious about, just text Stacy or I will get back to you.